We continue our college football predictions for 2018 with the Big 12 Conference. Kicks us off at the bottom. Like always, we're just going to skim through the bottom of the league. I think Kansas finishes 10th. I think they go under 3 wins. The middle of the Big 12 this year is going to be really, really good and interesting to watch. I don't think Kansas has talent yet to match up with any of those teams. I think they go under 3 wins. At 9, Texas Tech. I think they go under 6. Look, I'm pretty sure their offense will figure it out. Cliff Kingsbury and this offense always seem to do so. But when you're coming into a season talking about the strength of your team, you had defense ranked 105th in total defense last year and 122nd against the pass. I'm not buying you'll get to a bowl game. I'm sorry. Texas Tech goes under 6 wins and finishes 9th. At 8th, I'm going to go with the Baylor Bears. I think Baylor has a real chance to get 6 wins. So I'm going to say they probably push that number, but if I had to pick one way or the other, I don't think they can get 7, so probably 5 is more likely. So if I had to say, I'd say go under 6. But knowing a push is a likely outcome of that one. Look, I think Matt Rhule and Baylor are kind of trending in the right direction. Charlie Brewer comes back. Jalen Hurd, the Tennessee transfer, is eligible at receiver. Chris Platt and Denzel Mims are also there at receiver. Baylor is going to be able to score up some points, I think, this fall. So I like Baylor. I think they can get back to a bowl game this fall. They should be an interesting team to watch. And who knows, maybe they can upset one of the elite teams in this league. My 7th ranked team in the Big 12 is going to be the Iowa State Cyclones. I think Iowa State, they're set at 6.5. I think they go over 6.5. Feels like a team that probably wins 7 games. Maybe they get 8. But the key for Iowa State is to sustain this success. They actually return some really good football players. I mean, Kyle Kempt, your quarterback, is back. David Montgomery is the best running back nobody seems to be talking about in college football. Hakeem Butler is a receiver who may be able to fill in for Allen Lazard a little bit. You get Chase Allen, a talented young tight end. The defense returns some key players. You get Spears back, Lima, Brian Peavy at corner. Iowa State is going to be good enough, I think, to win some games in the Big 12. I think they're about as good as they were last fall, which was good enough to finish in the middle of a crowded Big 12, and that's exactly where I see them this fall. My 6th ranked team in the Big 12, I'm going to go Kansas State here. And I also think they're going to go over the 6.5 win mark. The thing with Kansas State is they got to settle on a quarterback, I feel like. I just have a tough time picking a team that doesn't have a settled quarterback room higher than middle of a conference. But they got some pieces coming back on the offensive line. The defense going to continue to improve. You can never underestimate a team coached by Bill Snyder. This is a classic Bill Snyder team that wins 8 or 9 games if they can figure out the quarterback position. And if they do so, I'm going to be picking them way lower than I should. But I think over 6.5 is a really good choice for Kansas State, knowing Bill Snyder is the coach and there's some decent talent to work with. 5th in the Big 12, I'm going to go Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State probably pushes the 8 win mark, but if I had to go one way or the other, I would lean towards saying they go under it, because I don't think this is a 9-win team, but I think 8 is probably the ideal number. 8 or under, so maybe I would take the under, knowing a push is a likely outcome. Yes, they lost Mason Rudolph and James Washington and a couple of key defensive pieces, but if they can figure out the quarterback position, they have some skill position guys to work with. Dylan Stoner starting to emerge at receiver. Tyron Johnson, the LSU transfer, maybe he'll finally live up to the expectations as a 5-star recruit. And of course, Justin Hill returns at running back. You get some key guys back on that defense. I think Mike Gundy does well again with a team that's kind of predicted to finish a little bit lower than usual. I think Oklahoma State probably wins 8 games. Maybe they go under at 7, but I like 8 for Oklahoma State this fall. My 4th ranked team in the Big 12, I'm going to go with the Texas Longhorns, but I do think they're going to go under the 9 win or 8.5. I've seen both lines. They'll go under that mark and only finish with 8 wins. Look, I understand the hype about the Texas Longhorns this fall. The defense is going to be really good, and they got an elite recruiting class, but I don't know who I don't know if Sam Ehlinger is the guy at quarterback, and I'm not sure who might be Trey Watson at running back, but I'm just not sold on their backfield yet, and I'm tired of Texas being picked to win 9 or 10 games until they've done it. I think once Texas wins 9 or 10 games, I'll have no problem picking them to win the Big 12. I think next year, when this elite recruiting class of 2018 becomes sophomores, Texas is going to have a great chance to take another step. But I think this year they might win 8 games. I think that's probably likely. That'll set up a chance next year to take a big step in year 3 under Tom Herman. and make a run towards the Big 12 championship in 2019. I think Texas is a year away. I think they go under the 8.5 or 9 win mark, depending on where you find it. Third team in the Big 12, the West Virginia Mountaineers. I do think they'll go over the 7 win mark. And look, some people are saying West Virginia's going to win the Big 12. No, I honestly would think Texas is more likely to win the Big 12, but I think West Virginia does better than Texas this season because West Virginia doesn't play defense. And I can't pick a team that doesn't play any defense at all to win their conference. I know you're going to say Oklahoma last year, but Oklahoma had a couple of good defensive players. West Virginia doesn't really have much on defense, but I'm picking them third because, well, they didn't have a defense last year, and Will Grier and company still found a way to put up points and be very competitive, and they really didn't fall off until Grier got hurt late in the season. So I think West Virginia goes over the 7 win mark. A healthy Will Grier, West Virginia could easily win 8 or 9 games, maybe even 10. I could see them maybe contending for the Big 12 title, but that defense has to get better before I believe that'll happen. My number 2 team in the Big 12, I'm going to go Oklahoma the Sooners. I think they're likely to push that 10 win mark, but I do think there's a chance they'll go under the 10 win mark. So if I was picking one way, this is not an 11 win team to me. I think 9 or 10 is more likely, so I would go under knowing a push is somewhat likely again. Seems like a lot of pushes this year, but that's where I'm leaning right now. Oklahoma, push or under 10. Here's the thing with Oklahoma. Kyler Murray has a lot of hype right now, but he wasn't great throwing the football in terms of accuracy at Texas A&M. So yes, while he and Rodney Anderson can put together a great rushing attack with the option, that can be devastating. Rodney Anderson is an elite running back. Kyler Murray is a great runner. But if he can't throw the ball accurately down the field, they're going to have a hard time offensively being as good as they were last season. And keep in mind, I think Baker Mayfield made up for a lot of the defensive deficiencies. And while the talent of this 2018 recruiting class on defense is excellent, I'm not sure they'll be ready as freshmen to make a big-time difference for Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma, looking ahead to next fall in 2019, they'll be a real Big 12 contender again. But this year, I picked them second. Well, they are a real contender this year, but I think they're second. Oklahoma either pushes or goes under 10. My number 1 team in the Big 12 this year are going to be the TCU Horned Frogs. I think they'll go over the 7.5 win mark, obviously, because I picked them first in their league. But if I'm TCU, I'm excited about this year because it felt like Sonny Cumby was kind of dialing it back offensively a little bit, knowing Kenny Hill had some limitations. I think that changes with Sean Robinson and a plethora of playmakers at running back and receiver. I like TCU this fall. I think Gary Patterson figures out a way to replace the defensive starters they've lost. I like the Horned Frogs to win the Big 12 in 2018.